Metro Center in Halifax. It's semifinal Saturday here on TSN as the Winnipeg Westmen face the McMaster Marauders in the first of two semifinal games here on TSN. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a great day of basketball here on TSN. I'm Gord Miller. It's McMaster and Winnipeg in semifinal number 1. We're down to 4 right now, and when the night is done, we'll have 2 finalists for the game that you'll see here on TSN tomorrow. Let's give you an idea of how these teams got to where they are today. McMaster was the number 1 seed coming in, beat Laurentian, but was life and death to do so yesterday. Winnipeg beat Cape Breton in another quarterfinal game, disappointing a lot of fans who came down from Sydney, Nova Scotia to see that one. So it sets up Mac and Winnipeg. Brandon and Alberta is semifinal number 2. Well, the Great Plains Athletic Conference has received some criticism here for getting a wild card berth, but in the last 4 years, they didn't do much to earn it. 1-6 in this tournament. However, for future reference, the GPAC teams are 2-0 this year. The GPAC is indeed back. And back too is our Brian Heaney, our TSN basketball analyst, who won a national championship here as a player with Acadia and 3 as a coach with St. Mary's. Brian, let's talk about the first game we'll see today and the battle of the big men between Winnipeg and Mac.
Well, it's going to be just a tremendous matchup. We have 2 of the best players in the country going head-to-head. Inside, Jeff Foreman, the first-team All-Canadian, is just a tremendous player for Winnipeg. One of the hardest working players, one of the most aggressive players in the nation. An international star last summer, getting 30 points against the United States. On the other hand, we got Jack Vanderpool, who led the OUAA and the nation in rebounding. An aggressive player, a mammoth man inside, carried this team all the way to the championship final last year and has them back in Halifax again this year.
Now, with Vanderpool, the nation's leading rebounder, you'd think Mac would have the advantage, but Winnipeg feels it might have the advantage because it doesn't have 1 man big inside. It's got 2 because yesterday, Norm Fromell, the 7-footer from Winnipeg, dynamite against Cape Breton, the game of his career, 24 points.
Well, he's the N factor, and the N factor is a 7-footer that Vanderpool hasn't had to go up against all year long. He's a huge man. He's a behemoth in the middle. He passes the ball well from the outside. He may surprise us tonight. He also shoots the ball well from the foul line. But the key is when he gets down low with his back to the basket, can Vanderpool, over the course of 40 minutes, contain Norm Fromell?
Well, one of the big stories for McMaster this year might have come in the summer of last year when 2 highly touted high school prospects from Hamilton passed on U.S. scholarship offers, stayed in their hometown, and came to play for Mac. Keegan Johnson and Titus Channer have been first-year sensations for Mac.
When coaches recruit high school players, they always say, can that player make an impact on my program? And both of these kids have impacted McMaster. They were in the national finals last year. 2 high school kids came in. They averaged 10 points a game. But most importantly, they're very aggressive on defense and very quick. They add a great deal of depth to the McMaster fast break game and to their perimeter game.
And those 2 kids played down the stretch when McMaster was in a tight game with Laurentian. Let's bring in now the 3rd member of our commentary team. Here's Jamie Bone.
Thanks, Gord. Many coaches will tell you it takes more than talent to win a national championship. That it's also important to have that mental edge. Head coach of McMaster, Joe Razzo, felt that his team yesterday didn't have that mental edge, and they were lucky to get by Laurentian with that 2-point victory. He said his team played not to lose. He just told his players about 2 minutes ago that they have to go out tonight and play aggressively, and they had to attack both offensively and defensively. Now, Winnipeg head coach Bill Wedlake, he told his team, we have experience. We've been here before. We know what it takes to win. Let's just go out there, enjoy ourselves, and have some fun. Gord?
All right, it should be fun, Jamie, and let's get an idea, Coach, of how you think it'll go today.
Well, I think it's going to be a well-played game, but the key to the ball game is inside. Winnipeg's power game against McMaster's pressure defense on the perimeter.
And look for lots of fighting inside as the big men from both sides scramble for rebound. Should be a great matchup to kick things off today. It's McMaster and Winnipeg. The winner goes to the final game tomorrow here at the Nationals from the Metro Center in Halifax. And we'll have the opening tip when we return in just a moment.
People wonder, how far will he go? How good will he be? I'm only 22 years old. Stick around.
What Eat More gives is dark, chewy toffee loaded with peanuts. real chewy and not too sweet tasting. So what eat more takes is time. It's a real long chew. Eat more.
We're back in Halifax, and the 1994 CIAU Men's Basketball Championship, better known as the Nationals, here in Canada's basketball hotbed. It's March, the month of champions, and our final event in what has been a sensational month of CIAU action from coast to coast. Let's get a look now at the starting lineups. First of all, for the Winnipeg Westmen at guard, Rob Dirksen, a fifth-year player who calls Brandon his hometown. Averaged 10 points a game. Thor Olsen is a lethal three-point shooter for Winnipeg. Had 6 three-pointers in one half against Manitoba in the playoffs in the Great Plains Conference this year. He's from Regina. David Zagordo, another guard for the Winnipeg Westmen, had the second best free throw percentage in the nation this year. Another fifth-year player from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. The player of the year in the CIAU, fifth-year player Jeff Foreman, 6'8", two-time All-Canadian, the second leading scorer in the CIAU history. Number 1 is Ken Apolko, who also played for Winnipeg, but some years ago. And Foreman playing his final game as a native of Winnipeg. And the N factor, as you called him, Brian, Norm Fromell, fourth-year player, a 7-footer who's had some time with the national team, 24 points yesterday, his season high. For the McMaster Marauders, who got to the final of this tournament last year, Mark Sontrop starts at guard. Sontrop scored the winning basket in the semifinal game against Concordia last year. We'll talk more about that later. Titus Channer, one of those sensational freshmen from Hamilton, 6'2", this young man, double figures in 23 of 24 games against CIAU opponents this year. Sean Francis, a third-year player who was dynamite in the final last year. He was McMaster's player of the game in the final loss to St. Francis Xavier last year. Paul Magg is a fourth-year player from Dundas, suffered some back spasms just before the playoffs began. He's seen his floor time reduced, but he is dynamite as well. And it all keys on this man, Jack Vanderpool, fifth-year player in his final season, two-time All-Canadian, and he is the man who will be center in the paint for McMaster in this game. He'll face 2 gigantic men. Joe Rasso is in his second year as the coach of the McMaster Marauders. Led his team to its best season ever with 22 wins. They were never ranked lower than second nationally, and they finished 12-2 in their conference. Bill Wedlake is the coach of the Winnipeg Westmen. He was the coach of the year in the CIAU last season. Don Horwood won the honors this year, and we'll see him in the second semifinal. And congratulations to Winnipeg. What an amazing story. This school only has 4 varsity teams this year for the second consecutive year. All 4 made it to the Nationals, and last week we saw the Winnipeg Westmen women's basketball team win its second consecutive national championship and run its winning streak to a record 74. We're set for the opening tip. Gord Miller with Brian Heaney and Jamie Bone at the Metro Center in Halifax. And there it is. Fromell, the 7-footer, against Jack Vanderpool at 6'8". And the floor may be cracked by the time they get through with it. Scramble for it off the tip. Winnipeg controls. Fromell kicks it outside.
And immediately in a tip, Jeff Foreman is down on the ground, diving for a loose ball. And that's a style of play you're going to see from Jeff through the whole game.
Zagordo inside. And Foreman over the top. And the call goes against Winnipeg. And it'll be a McMaster ball.
Now look here, the pass goes inside, and Vanderpool builds the wall. Foreman goes right through him. The referee calls travel, lost his footing.
First possession for McMaster. Channer. Right off the top, Keegan Johnson. And Keegan Johnson, the first-year player, hits the first bucket of the game for McMaster. Pass out of bounds. Did it hit a hand? The referee checks. No, it's McMaster ball. So gives you the idea of Joe Rasso's confidence in these 2 freshmen. Keegan Johnson and Titus Channer start for Mac.
Well, that happened at the end of the year. They started some games early in the year, depending on the matchup. But Paul Maga, the senior forward, had some back spasms, as he mentioned at the top, and the freshman was simply ready to play.
Francis to the top of the key, makes a roll and finds its way home. 4-0 McMaster.
Francis is one of the most explosive players in the OUAA West. tremendous jumping ability, great athletic ability, good offensive player.
Full court pressure by McMaster. Foreman over the top. And the foul is called against Sean Francis.
McMaster foul Sean Francis, his first team foul number 1.
That's a big defensive matchup for McMaster. When Sean Francis at 6'4" matches up against Jeff Foreman at 6'8", Francis has to deny Foreman the ball, and he has to get great position inside because Foreman has a lot of size and a lot of strength over Sean.
Foreman at the line, an 80% free throw shooter this year. The top 10 nationally in rebounding, field goal percentage, and scoring.
And when you're a big man and you're getting the basketball a lot on the inside, it's so important to be an accurate free throw shooter.
Makes both and gets his team on the board now. Winnipeg trailing by 2 in the early moments of the first semifinal. Sontrop kicks it inside for Vanderpool. Won't go. And the rebound right away to Jeff Foreman. And quickly up the floor they go, and the call goes against Sontrop, hustling back on defense.
What a great pass by Foreman on that rebound. He turned right here through the lead pass directly to Olsen, who got fouled on the shot. But Jeff Foreman, here's Foreman losing his balance, but accurately leads Olsen right to the basket. Tremendous pass.
And Thor Olsen, the fourth-year player from Regina, goes to the line. His specialty, the three-point shot, a 45% shooter from the outside stripe.
And Olsen took 250 three-pointers over the course of the season, so we'll see him launch them during this ballgame.
Francis, double team, quickly kicks it outside to Keegan Johnson, but Puck Johnson walked.
You got to keep that pivot foot planted when you make that first move, and sometimes early in a ball game, especially with a freshman, a little bit of nerves rattle you. You lose your concentration fundamentally on the footwork.
Zagordo working on Titus Channer. Kicks it out to the other side to Rob Dirksen, and Dirksen has it knocked out of his hands by Johnson, who hustled over. Fromell open, long range. Took another look, wouldn't go, and the rebound goes right to Keegan Johnson, who quickly comes up the floor for McMaster. Sontrop on the drive behind the back to Vanderpool, and the shot won't go, but McMaster draws the foul.
What a great pass by Sontrop on that penetration move into the paint. He flipped that basketball right behind his ear. Hard penetration. Sontrop found Vanderpool, flipped it right behind his left ear, right in the hands of Vanderpool, and made that play. Jack goes to the line for 2.
Fromell's first foul. Vanderpool, a 50% free throw shooter. Makes the first.
Now, Jack Vanderpool has already had 2 offensive attempts inside in the paint, matching up against Norm Fromell. One of the things Joe Rasso wants to do in this game is get the ball deep into Vanderpool early to try to put Fromell in foul trouble.
Vanderpool 2 for 2 from the line. McMaster leads by 3. Thor Olsen. David Zagordo. Olsen looking to get open for the three-point attempt. Instead, they go inside to Fromell, working on Vanderpool, has it knocked out of his hands. And they'll call the foul inside on Vanderpool. Check that, Titus Channer coming in the other way.
Well, right here, Channer reaching into Fromell, and that's the foul Joe Rasso would rather take because he's got depth on the wings with Titus Channer's position, but he doesn't with Jack Vanderpool. He's got to keep Jack in the ballgame.
Foreman working on Francis. Gordo trying to get it inside for Fromell. Vanderpool knocks it away, and Keegan Johnson comes away with it. Johnson on the drive off the glass, won't go. Vanderpool fighting for the rebound, still after it. And they'll give the ball to Winnipeg as Vanderpool tipped it out of bounds, but Jack Vanderpool chased that loose ball about 30 feet.
He chased it 30 rows up in the balcony, and right on his tail, right on his shoulder on that play was Jeff Foreman. 2 guys, 6'8", 235, hustling from the basket to the corner, 25 feet for the ball.
And again, full court pressure from McMaster. Quickly to Zagordo. Dirksen pulls up, the left-hander won't go. And the rebound quickly to Titus Channer. Sean Francis on the drive, couldn't find the handle. Now to Sondra. Drive the other side. Channer, that shot is short. Across the top of the rim, and Fromell with the rebound. Quickly up the floor to Foreman off the glass and home. And the lead is cut to 1.
Well, most people expected in this ball game that McMaster would try to run Winnipeg, but to this stage, Winnipeg's been running McMaster over the top of the transition defense.
And quickly, Sean Francis pulls it up and finds home. 8-5, McMaster leading. Segordo, nifty move in the paint, now kicks it back outside to Olsen. Long range, walks the top of the rim. Vanderpool the rebound.
Jack Vanderpool's the last man down the floor, which doesn't happen often, but he is getting tired in the first 5 minutes of this ball game. If Joe Rasso can get him a substitution, that'd help Jack right here.
Foreman again on the long lead pass. And the foul again, I believe, to Titus Channer, which would be his second.
Now there's a situation where a freshman inexperience. Look at Foreman here, out again, once again, atop of the defense. But Vanderpool, tired or not, hustles back and pins the shot.
Quick tempo to this game so far.
Great tempo. Both teams going at each other. Very, very hard up and down in transition. But Titus Channer, with only 4 minutes gone in the game, already with 2 fouls. He's got to pace himself because Joe Rasso found that both Channer and Keegan Johnson, the 2 freshmen we talked about at the top of the show, were vital and instrumental in their win yesterday late in the game against Laurentian. He can't afford to have those freshmen who played a key role in foul trouble.
Subs for both teams. Tom Newton checks in for McMaster, along with Cesare Piccini, number 45. And also in the game, Paul Maga, number 44 for McMaster. In for Winnipeg, Prentice Lentz at guard, a 4th-year player from Sardis, BC. So the quick tempo taking an early toll.
Well, this is an interesting group of players in the ballgame for McMaster because Joe Rasso can't play a bigger lineup with Piccini and Newton in the ballgame. But Newton's deceptive. Although he's 6'6", he's one of the best 3-point shooters on the team.
And one of the best 3-point shooters in the country. Sontrop closely guarded, gets it to Maga. Now Newton open from a long way away. And Fromell with the rebound.
With that kind of quick release, 10 seconds into the ballgame, he believes he's one of the best 3-point shooters too.
And Newton with the steal. Sontrop to Maga. Open for a moment, now to the key. Another right-handed leaner.
Oh, Maga.
McMaster knows just where they want to go, right at Norm Fromell.
Foreman, watched by Newton closely. Foreman trying to drive on Newton, kicks it back out to Segordo. David Segordo to Fromell, open. Vanderpool daring him to take the shot, instead Fromell walks around him.
Now that's the kind of play that Paul Maga is known for. Smart play, a thinking player. He's not the best athlete on the team, but he's one of the most experienced with 4 years. And also, he drew that charge. That's a big foul on Winnipeg.
10-7 is the score in favor of McMaster. We'll be back after this.
Imagine your family in the future.
Hi, Daddy.
Michelle, you've grown.
Graduated, Daddy.
Graduated?
With honors.
Smart girl.
Smart parents.
Smart enough to pay for all that?
Freedom 55, Daddy, remember?
Freedom 55. We just got that last month.
Freedom 55. Life insurance protection today, plus a financial plan with freedom of choices for your family's future. Freedom 55. Only from your London Life representative.
Oh, I'm gonna miss playing with Fuzzy Bunny.
Not as much as you're gonna miss your hair, Daddy.
Now right here, look at Jack Vanderpool, challenge Norm Fromell, but look at Maga. Paul Maga draws the charge. What kind of a trade-off is that? Paul Maga comes in as a substitute forward in this game and puts Norm Fromell into a situation where he's got his second foul of the ball game with only 5 minutes gone. That was a very big play in the first half of basketball.
Let's go to Jamie Bones.
Seems to be an annual event here in Halifax. National team coach Ken Shields joins me right now. Ken, you've had a chance to look at some of the talent. What do you think?
Oh, there's some fine players here. There's some great athletes and great people.
Let's talk about some of the guys in the national team. Rumor has it that Rick Fox from the Celtics and Bill Wennington from Chicago will be joining the national team. Is that what you know?
I know. I feel pretty good about that happening. It's not totally 100%, but at this point, I feel pretty good about it.
Well, the pool's already been set. You're in with Angola, Argentina, and Russia. Is that a good pool for Canada?
That's a tough pool. Angola is an athletic team that has done well internationally. Russia and Argentina are very good.
All right, good luck at the Worlds, August 4th to 14th. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Gord?
Thanks very much, Jamie. Look forward to being there in Toronto for the World Basketball Championships, and we'll see Dream Team 2 as well.
It's going to be an awesome event in Toronto. There's going to be street fairs, street 3-on-3 tournaments, cultural events that surround the world. Everybody's got to make plans to get there in Toronto for the biggest festival of basketball in the history of Canada.
Sontrop for three wouldn't go, but look at Newton inside for the rebound. That was long. And now they call Newton on the foul. Tom Newton, the older brother of Greg Newton, who plays for Duke and who has a few things on his mind right now, namely the NCAA tournament.
Well, I'm sure Tom's cheering for Greg, and I'm sure Greg is checking in the evenings and finding out how McMaster's doing as well for Tom.
And their mom's running up gigantic airline bills, keeping track of both of them. From the corner, the shot from Zagordo won't go, and both teams a little cold shooting right now as Sontrop brings it back up the floor. Cesare Piccini to Vanderpool outside. Now Vanderpool works his way into the basket. Sontrop to Piccini. Off the dribble, off the glass, won't go. Piccini gets his own rebound. Now back up top. Again won't go. Piccini again with the rebound. Third time lucky.
Boy, third time lucky, but third time hard work. Cesare Piccini got 2 offensive rebounds off his own miss. That's tremendous effort on his part.
Prentice Lenz open. And the foul to Maga.
Boy, watch Paul Maga again. Maga again lining up. Olsen setting up for the charge. He's coming off the help defense extremely well. Again, it's that experience sitting in the back line of that defense and watching with good judgment where Winnipeg's point of attack is.
Again, massive substitutions for McMaster. The man with the ball now is Jamie Germoletto. High school player from the Hamilton area who gives the ball away to the more experienced Jeff Foreman. Zagordo to Foreman. Short. And the rebound to Lance Postma, who spells Jack Vanderpool. Sean Francis working his way in, had trouble handling it now. Newton. They kick it down to the corner. Johnson back outside to Newton. Open. Yes.
He really is a fine shooter. You look at Tom Newton, you think, geez, he should have his back to the basket. But when he faces up, gets squared, and have his feet set, he can drain it with the best in the country.
Zagordo kicked it out to the top of the game. They get it to Lenz in the corner. Lenz working on Francis, trying to get it inside, and there's Tom Newton again. Quickly up the floor as the pace keeps up. Newton open again. He'll take the shot. Won't go. And timeout Winnipeg with 12:55 to play here in the first half. And McMaster leading 15-7.
Winnipeg take their first timeout.
Right, guys? Jeff, let it happen. There's no point in forcing things or shooting things off balance. You've got to move the ball and let it happen. People is right out of whack right now. And their pressure and their attack is making us play that way. We have to dictate it the way we want it. Right? We have a corner. Coming down, we have corner. Move the ball. Let it happen naturally. Lawn Hobners. Lawn Hobners, right? Lawn Hobners all the way. Relax now. All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
wanted Winnipeg to slow down and don't rush. The frantic pressure that McMaster brings to bear against their opponents drives them into turnover city. Winnipeg already has 7 turnovers, which creates easy offense for Mac on one end. What Winnipeg has to do is get the quality of shot that they want. And with pressure defense, oftentimes, players react to that pressure, beat it, and they take an early shot in the offense. That's not what Bill Wedleg wanted out of that timeout.
Here's Dirksen off the screen. Gets it back inside to Foreman, who's quickly got 2 men on him and all over him. 3-second violation, Mac ball. Boy, Vanderpool was all over Foreman.
Well, he was all over Foreman, but what we need to see the rest of the half is Sean Francis is dropping off his defensive check and helping Jack double team anytime the ball goes inside. So Jack's the primary defender, but Sean Francis is doing a good job doubling up on the inside offensive post.
Here's Francis along the baseline. Right over Foreman, the charge is called. Second foul to Francis. Now Norm Formel comes back in for Winnipeg. And Foreman goes out and is a little frustrated as he heads to the Westman bench.
He doesn't like to sit down even for 1 second. He's such a competitive spirit that he wants to be out there, even in a situation where he's just going to get a breath and then he's going to be put back in a ball game. He wants to be out there on every single play, Jeff Foreman.
Small lineup now for Winnipeg, 3 guards in. And the call of the push in the corner. And the call is
McMaster foul.
Right here, great baseline drive right here. Maggot came from the side, bumped him with the hit. One of the things a defensive player needs to do on a penetration move like that is get that first defensive step down and cut the baseline off. You're greatly compromised if the offense can take the baseline on you in a driving penetration move like that.
Check that, the foul was on Keegan Johnson. His first, his team's 7th. Now a bonus situation for Winnipeg, shooting 1-1. Oh, won't go. And Francis with the rebound. Francis to Sontrop. Sontrop open for 3. Yes.
Mark Sontrop for 3.
Sontrop's a fine shooter. One of the reasons that McMaster has played excellent offense this year is Sontrop has distributed the basketball all through the year, but he can shoot the basketball if left alone.
Inside to Formel, working over Vanderpool. The shot won't go. Formel's got the ball inside, but hasn't been able to do much with it so far. Open is Johnson. Shot is short. Johnson fighting for the rebound, but it goes inside to Rob Dirksen. 11-point McMaster lead. Here's Dirksen. Off the window, and there's Jack Vanderpool for another rebound.
McMaster's helping very well off the weak side. Dirksen had good penetration move, but the opening closed up on him quickly.
Francis kicks it out far side to Johnson. Now Sontrop will reset.
Winnipeg setting its own defense here. McMaster saw it, spending a little bit of time with the ball, trying to get organized.
Rush shot by Titus Chandler as the shot clock was winding down, wouldn't go. And now Winnipeg will try to cut into that 11-point McMaster lead. Here's Formel inside. The shot goes, count it, and the block on Francis, his 3rd foul.
And again, right there, that's where you get into problems defensively along the baseline. You give up the initial move in the corner, but you force the help to come.
Francis with 3, trouble for McMaster. We're back with more after this.
So, we got our hands on a Geo Metro.
And we thought we'd go out and get to know fuel economy. Like,
Hey, watch this.
like how far can you go on 20 bucks?
So Brad pumped the gas.
And we reset the thing.
And we were off.
We wanted to see if we could make it all the way to the Big Apple.
Without adding any more gas.
I've never been to the Big Apple before.
Oh, you're gonna love it. There's so much stuff to do there.
That coming from the guy who could find this much stuff to do in the back seat.
And before you knew it, we were there.
Quarter tank left, 540 kilometers.
Wow, look at that.
They don't call it the Big Apple for nothing.
The drive from the corner forced Jack Vanderpool to help and opened up the passing lane for Norm Fromell. Penetration on the baseline, that's not what you want.
With another special guest, here's Jamie Bone.
Gord, one of the great stories this week is Tom Newton, who's a forward for the McMaster Marauders, is vying for a national championship, and his brother, Greg Newton, is playing for the Duke Blue Devils, trying to get an NCAA championship. And joining me now is their mother, Marg Newton. And Marg, you must be awful proud of your two sons, both going for national championships in each country.
I sure am. There's not many mothers that can say that, can they?
Now, you were telling me a story earlier. You said one time this year, both McMaster and Duke were ranked #1, respectively.
You've got it. One in Canada and one in the United States.
What was it like growing up with both of them in the family, having two basketball stars?
Oh, they're super boys. They're both very, very competitive and both enjoy the game very, very much. But they're still brothers and they follow each other all the time.
Well, they both win national championships. You'll be the proudest mom in North America.
I sure would be.
All right, thanks, Mark.
You're very welcome.
Gord?
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned that Tom Newton at 6'6", people think he would be more of a physical player, but his mom was saying that because Greg was so physical, Tom had to learn to shoot outside, and that's why he's such a good three-point shooter.
Well, that's probably the case, but, you know, I've seen Greg play as well, and although he's got several inches on Tom, he's not a bad shooter from the outside himself. When he gets an opportunity to increase his playing time at Duke, he's going to really help them from the perimeter. Both shoot the ball very, very well.
Francis on the bench with 3 fouls. Fromell at the line now. And completes the three-point play and cuts the McMaster lead to 8. Cesare Pacini over the top.
Cesare Pacini.
Co-captain Cesare Pacini restores his team's 10-point lead.
You can't let a forward run the lane without being picked up by defense by the time he's inside the hash mark. One dribble and everybody, forward, guard, center, they're in scoring range.
Jeff Foreman back in the game, throws it away.
I really think Jeff Foreman, to this point in the ballgame, has played tight. I think he's really over anxious to get rid of last year's defeat in the opening round, carry this team, the Winnipeg Westmen, on his shoulders into the final game tomorrow. Just hasn't played relaxed yet. But in talking with some of the coaches, we talked about Foreman in the past, and say he is a better second half player than a first half player.
Keegan Johnson for 3 won't go, and it'll be Winnipeg possession on the inbound. .9:45 to play first half. McMaster leading 20-10. Hard contact as the ball is brought up the floor.
And look at the defensive pressure.
And they've got the foul on Keegan Johnson, reaching in, his second.
And he had great footwork, brought tremendous pressure for 50 feet of the court, and reached in from the outside in. Watch here, his left hand is going to reach in, right hand in, and then left hand out. But he got the right hand in. Great move with the left arm. Not so good with the right arm. The referee will react all the time when you bring that defensive arm from the outside in toward the body. It's an automatic reflex reaction. You're going to get a foul.
David Zagordo, an 86% free throw shooter, second best percentage of the nation. And not surprisingly, makes the front end of the 1-and-1. 19 foul now to McMaster, so the next will mean automatic 2-shot fouls for Winnipeg. Only 3 team fouls for the Westmen this far. And Paul Maggot will come back into the game now for McMaster, taking the place of Keegan Johnson.
When you have the kind of depth that Joe Razzo has on this team on the perimeter, people like Paul Maggot, Keegan Johnson, Titus Chana, Mark Sontrop, you're able to give that defensive pressure the entire half, not worry about foul trouble.
Newton for 3, yes.
Tom Newton for 3.
His second.
You cannot let Tom Newton square up. You've got to be in his face the minute he touches the basketball.
Thor Olsen called for the charge, and the referees today giving defenders a break.
Well, great defensive footwork on that defensive move, causing Olsen to lift his elbow. Now watch his left forearm right here, pushed him right back. It was difficult to see on the replay, but he stuck the left elbow right in his gut. That's an offensive foul.
That quite often isn't called. Sontrop now to Pacini. Inside for Newton, has it knocked away. Kirby Shep into the game for his first action, tips the ball out of bounds. And 22% field goal shooting by Winnipeg tells much of the story of this game. And Jeff Foreman's troubles, the CIAU Player of the Year, really struggling in the early moments here.
Well, we're not going to see Winnipeg shoot 22% for the game, so there are better things to happen for them.
Sontrop called on the charge, his second foul. That's about 5 charges we've seen called so far.
McMaster foul, Mark Sontrop.
Winnipeg is changing defense. It's going from man-to-man. They played a little 2-3 zone. They played a little 3-2 zone. And one of the things that's causing Mark Sontrop problem is that he's got to read the defense before he can initiate the offense. And that's running time off the 30-second clock.
What's the big difference between the two, the 3-2 and the 2-3?
Well, the 3-2, you have 3 players around the perimeter, try to bring more pressure to the outside shooters. The 2-3, you have 3 people along the baseline trying to surround the inside post people.
Major traffic in the paint there. The ball almost got away from Matt Hanna. Fromell inside for Foreman, trying to find the handle, wrestling with Maga, and Maga takes the call. His second.
Boy, I'll tell you, you got to look inside at Jeff Foreman here. He catches the basketball here. Fromell throws him. Look at the red shirts. 1, 2, 3, 4. How would you like to be inside with the ball with 4 McMaster players on it, just like bees on honey? It's tough in there.
Bees on honey. Team foul to McMaster, and that means automatic 2 shots for Winnipeg from here on in the half, and 8:31 to go. Foreman misses the second shot. 10-point lead for McMaster. 8:28 to play. Cesare Piccini to Newton to Maga. Great shooting lineup in there for McMaster. Now Piccini, and just as I say that, he rolls one off the front of the rim. To Gordo. Cross court they go to Olsen, and it won't go.
They really are cold from the outside. If they're going to get the basketball inside and loosen that collapsing defense up, they've got to prove themselves from the perimeter here in the first half.
Pass off Fromell's hands. And coming into the game once again is Jamie Girolamo, who played for Joe Rasso at St. Mary's High School a couple years ago when they won the Hamilton City High School Championship. Fromell, triple covered, gave it away. And the foul is a hole. Lance Postman into the game. Taking the place of Jack Vanderpool, will get some time on the bench, and timeout is the call. With 7:55 to play, it's a 10-point lead for McMaster.
Last year, when Canadian Tire reduced prices on hundreds of products, the impact was huge. And this year's news is just as big, because now we're reducing prices on MotoMaster tires. It's not a sale, but guaranteed low prices every day on quality MotoMaster tires made by leading North American manufacturers. It's just one more way we save you money, today and every day. There's a lot more to Canadian Tire for a lot less.
Great day of basketball here on TSN. The men's second semifinal coming up. The Alberta Golden Bears against the Brandon Bobcats. And that too coming from the Metro Center. Great crowds here all week in Alberta. Sure stuck a knife in the hearts of the hometown fans last night, beating the St. Mary's Huskies in front of a delirious crowd of about 8,700 here. Let's listen into the McMaster huddle.
Duck. We're going to duck. I want you to enter the ball to Jack's side when you go through. That way Ches will come high. Step in. Yes, Jack is on. We're 100. You're on Foreman. You're on Foreman. Okay? Tommy, look where the shooter is. Know where the shooter is. Let's go. Pick it up. 1, 2, 3, win.
Joe Rasso giving the instructions, and there's his wife Kathy along with daughter Natalie taking in the action. What a run for Joe Rasso. 2 national titles in his, or 2 national championship tournaments in his first couple years as coach. Let's go to Jamie.
Gord, I was just in the Winnipeg huddle, and Bill Wedlag was reading the riot act to his players and saying, we're getting no movement on offense, we're not holding our screens. He just said, we're not playing as a group, we've got to get our act together. This game's getting away from us. Gord?
All right, thanks, Jamie. Here's Tom Newton. Inside for Vanderpool, took a quick rest and put that shot well short. So short, in fact, that Piccini had a chance to take the shot.
Winnipeg foul, Matt Hanna.
And the foul is to Matt Hanna.
Foul number 6.
I'll look inside here. Piccini goes up. Hanna comes over and gets him on the arm. One of the things Joe Razzo wanted to get done in the timeout was get the ball in what he called a duck. He said, let's duck, let's duck. And what he wanted to do was get the basketball, enter to Jack Vanderpool's side of the court, put the ball in the high post area, and have Jack Vanderpool establish position low, jump into the paint, and dump the ball down inside to him. That's what the term duck means to the offensive team. High to low to the big man inside.
Prentice Lenz into the game for Winnipeg. McMaster now with 5 offensive rebounds. And Piccini gets the second one to fall. His team up by 11. 7.5 minutes to play here. Lenz through the paint on 3 defenders, and it's another charge.
Well, Winnipeg has decided they're going to penetrate to the goal, but McMaster is so quick laterally, they're just leaving their players in the corners and packing the paint. Watch here. Here goes Olsen down the paint. Stop, wait, draw the charge, keep your hands up, and don't leave the ground. Again, Maga making a great play.
That's about 4 charges Maga has drawn on his own. Piccini's open, won't shoot it. Newton's open, he will. And he makes it. His third three-pointer.
What Winnipeg hasn't been able to do yet is establish an outside game, and they haven't been able to establish a consistent inside game. They really are struggling offensively against McMaster's tenacious defense.
Kevin Chief into the game. Kicks it out to Lenz. He's open. Pulls it up. Won't go. Well, there's ice under the floor here at the Metro Center, and there's ice on top of it, too, as Winnipeg is just cold shooting.
Winnipeg foul, Kevin Chief, his first, team foul number 8.
Kevin Chief with the foul. It's the 8th now on Winnipeg, and McMaster will go to the line shooting 1-on-1.
Look at Tom Newton. He has controlled the defensive backboards, and I'll tell you, he's a great outside shooter, but he has some springs in his legs. He's a good defensive rebounder, really commanding presence inside.
Took last year off to get his academic house in order. Comes back with a vengeance this year, not just athletically, but academically as well. And as most three-point shooters are, he's a pretty strong free throw shooter. He's got 10 points so far.
And he can get hot and light him up. He had 17 points this year against a game in November against Boston University down in Massachusetts.
Winnipeg trailing by 16, 6.5 to play. And tenacious defense again by McMaster. Olsen inside for Fromell. Won't go. And the rebound to Vanderpool. Sooner or later, something's got to fall for Winnipeg. Piccini double team off a foot. And McMaster ball. And coming into the game, Lance Postma. Spelling off Cesare Piccini. Winnipeg with 2 field goals this half. 9 points on free throws. And here comes the player of the year, Jeff Foreman, off the window, and we'll see if that will spark Winnipeg.
And oftentimes when a team is dry offensively, the way to get back in the ball game is defensively. Right there, Foreman came out, denied the pass, created a turnover, and that generated some offense. They've got to pick up their own defensive intensity on this side of the floor.
Vanderpool lays it in over the top of the big man. Norm Fromell helpless as Vanderpool lays it in over top. Cross court they go. Kevin Chief takes the shot, won't go, and they'll call the foul on Maga, his second.
Very aggressive play going on inside. Jeff Foreman tried to set a screen down on a low post. Maga got trapped on the screen. Instead of going around him, look at right here, he tries to go right through him. You just can't do that. Both forearms up, pushed him right down, a clear offensive foul.
And remember this, too, that one of the best defenders for McMaster, Sean Francis, is on the bench with 3 fouls.
You know, going back to Maga's play, he tried to run right through the guy. If you had to bring a team to a psychological pitch on game day, that's exactly what you want to have them do. Run through the brick wall. Maga saw one. He just tried to go through it. Joe Razzo's probably happy with that play.
Let's go, White. Pick it up now.
Foreman pulls his team within 15. So now a 14-point lead with under 5.5 to play here in the first half. Girolamo to Maga. Trying to find Vanderpool inside in traffic. Instead goes to Postma off the glass to Vanderpool, who puts it up, but the shot won't go. The foul is against Winnipeg.
Here we go. Here we go.
See, look here. The offensive move right here, great. Look at Vanderpool right over the back, grabs the basketball and puts it back in. He's the workhorse of the offensive boards, Jack Vanderpool. He never stops hustling. Great effort every time, and that's what's put him on the first-team All-Canadian team.
Jeff Foreman with his first foul. Vanderpool with 5 rebounds so far. Oof, and a complete miss. That almost hit the baseline.
Well, he's smiling on that one, but you know, when you're holding people off with your left arm and then your right arm, you're pushing, you're straining, people are pulling on you and clutching. You go to the foul line, you got to get relaxed. I think Jack went in there and his arms were still tight from pushing off 3 or 4 people.
That's like seeing a gutter ball from a pro bowler. You just don't expect that. Have a look at this. Now as they get some clock problems sorted out, Vanderpool has a long time to think about it. So we'll see what he does here. Made the second one, but walked it home.
Well, he came back tough. He couldn't let that one go without getting away with the basket.
Last Winnipeg foul should have been charged to Chris Chartier. It's his first.
And the call here is another charge against David Zagordo. They corrected that last foul. It's on Chris Chartier, not on Foreman. So Foreman does not have a foul.
His first team foul, number 10.
And the foul is called on Zagordo again on the charge. And back come the freshmen now for McMaster, Keegan Johnson, number 5, and Titus Channer, number 32, along with Mark Sontrop.
Imagine trying to rid yourself of defensive pressure, and you look over as the buzzer rings and you see Keegan Johnson and Titus Channer coming back in the game. I mean, you just know you're in trouble. Not only are they great defensive players, now they're rested.
The Chihuahuas. Look at Vanderpool from the 3-point line to Sontrop, who's open off the front of the rim. And quickly hauled in by Winnipeg as Rob Dirksen brings it up the floor. Foreman's open. Top of the lane, bounces in and out. And again, the rebound to McMaster. And the tempo picks up as the kids come back in. Channer, little leaner. Ball short, and Foreman leaps in for the rebound. Working off the screen, Dirksen. Quickly to Foreman, triple team. Won't go. Rebound, and that finally falls as Steve Newton, first-year player from New Dundee, Ontario, gets his first action. And 2 quick points.
Great offensive rebound by Newton. He followed the ball, got up well on a shot, put it back in.
Channer has it taken away from him. And the call on Dirksen.
Winnipeg foul, Rob Dirksen.
And here comes Norm Fromell back into the game. Rob Dirksen with his 3rd foul now.
You know, right here with 3:54 to go in a half court, one of the things Bill Wedleg wants to do is they want to get into the locker room in single digits. 32-19. He'd prefer to go to the locker room not down by 10 or more. There's a psychological barrier that you crash through and you get down to 9, 8, 7. So Bill Wedleg doesn't have to come all the way back. He doesn't have to get Westman to come all the way back. He just wants to close this gap so he has something to work with at the half.
So we've got an official's timeout on the floor and a 15-point lead for McMaster. We'll be right back after this.
Kellogg's asks, Time for a snack?
George, are you back again? You just ate a couple of hours ago. How can you still be hungry? Why don't you go out, meet some people?
Mom.
I worry about you.
I just want a snack.
Try Kellogg's Corn Flakes. A serving of those crispy flakes of corn splashed with ice-cold milk is a delicious snack that's low in fat. So eat Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
How come you don't call anymore?
A low-fat snack. Feel good about it.
Our communication, we finish our screens, we come and help our buddies, we're turning in, we're being a threat, and when we get the chance to knock it down, we shoot the ball with authority. All right, and at both ends, we got to play. Let's go. All right, let's get some screens inside here. Let's get some action happening inside here. All right, let's do the job. 3, 2, 1.
Just a scoring note in case you're scoring along at home. They announced here Rob Dirksen's third foul, but our ace stats crew has him at 1, and I'll take our guy's side every time, and we'll put Dirksen at 1.
Well, Bill Wedleg wants them to come down, set up good half-court offense, and not run through the screens. Not just cross each other on the court, but actually stop and create some blockage against the defensive players so they can free each other up. They just need to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more precise once they get into the half-court offensive set. But that pressure defense that McMaster brings to you, 94 feet, causes you to get into a different tempo than you're normally used to offensively. Sometimes the fundamental execution will break down in that situation.
Eduardo inside to Fromell. There's Newton. To Thor Olsen. Trying to get open for a 3. Short. Rebound to Foreman, fighting with Vanderpool, and a little extra pushing and shoving under the basket as Foreman and Vanderpool get tangled up. Here's Fromell working on Vanderpool. Look who came up for the block. Keegan Johnson leaping among the big men and knocked that one away.
Well, the help out from those perimeter players with that jumping ability. Keegan Johnson got up and clipped Fromell from behind.
Call on Mark Sontrop.
McMaster call Mark Sontrop, his third.
And that is Sontrop's third. And down the other end will go for Winnipeg free throws.
Look at Sontrop go hard to the basket, leave his feet.
To the line for 2 shots.
Okay, man. Foreman had position, both feet down, created the charge. You know, Jeff Foreman quietly has helped keep Winnipeg in the ballgame at this point in time. He's gotten 2 offensive rebounds and putting them both in. He's been to the foul line twice in the last 3 possessions. That's the kind of play that you've got to have if you're going to dig yourself out of the kind of hole that the Westmen have themselves in. You have to win off not the principal offense, but off the defense and off the secondary offense, off the glass.
Part of the story here is that Sean Francis is on the bench with 3 fouls. So is Sontrop, but Max Bench has 18 points. There's another shot short and another rebound for Jack Vanderpool. He's got to be tired. He's getting worked over inside and working hard at both ends of the floor. Titus Channer on the drive draws the foul. And
Winnipeg calls Steve Newton his
Look at
third.
Titus Channer here, squaring up, both feet planted on the ground, down on the baseline, and drawing the charge. One of the things that Channer does very well is he pulls up off the dribble. He's a good shooter off the penetration move.
By the way, we mentioned that Greg and Tom Newton having a big weekend. Steve Newton is their cousin.
It's a family affair, the Metro Center.
And mass substitutions again now for McMaster. Coming in, Piccini, Maga, and Tom Newton. Joe Razzo can really throw a lot of different looks at you with his lineup. He's got a great small lineup that plays tough defense and a great huge lineup.
He does, and one of the challenges Bill Wedleg has is when Razzo makes those substitutions and changes the look. If you're behind in the ball game, you have to adjust to McMaster's look. You're not in control of the situation. Right now, Joe Razzo has it going all his way. As a matter of fact, Vanderpool, who's working very hard, he's also had some good rest in the first half.
Another foul at the offensive end against Winnipeg. And it'll result in a 1-and-1 for McMaster. Jeff Foreman takes his first personal.
Offensive fouls create devastating offensive possessions because you don't get an opportunity to execute a scoring play. And when you come down, you've worked hard on the defense, you've worked hard on the backboards, you get the basketball, you come down, you commit an offensive foul. It puts a stake in the heart of an offensive team. Winnipeg has to clean up the offensive charges. They've had 6 offensive charging plays in the first half that have resulted in turnovers.
Vanderpool, a 50% free throw shooter, rattles that one in off the glass. Now, remember, he left one about 5 feet short last time, so kind of been all over the place here.
Well, believe me, I don't expect to see that again from Jack Vanderpool.
He's done it just about every way you can. Hey, but take them any way they'll come, right?
Well, he hasn't had a great season shooting from the free throw percentage, from the foul line, but players have a tendency in important games and national championships to focus and deliver the goods.
Rob Dirksen with the three.
Dirksen for 3.
Winnipeg could use a little bit more of that from their perimeter game. The defensive matchup has been all to McMaster's advantage now, but if Dirksen can get hot, contribute from the outside, he'll loosen up the inside play.
From the corner, Channer won't go. And Thor Olsen with the rebound. And quickly they go back up the floor. Zagordo off the glass draws the foul, and Cesare Piccini takes the call.
McMaster foul, Paul Maga, his 3rd.
Maga takes the foul, it's his 3rd.
Both teams in transition lower the shoulder, catch the ball ahead of the defense, and take it right to the goal. Put a tremendous amount of stress on the recovering defensive players. Usually, if you can get to the goal in transition, you're going to create contact or you're going to get a layup.
Well, there's some pretty serious foul trouble here for McMaster now because Sontrop and Francis are on the bench with 3. Maga has 3 as well. Second of the game, Jamie Girolamo for McMaster.
Of those 3 people who are in foul trouble for McMaster, Sontrop is the key because as the 4th-year guard, he runs the show down the stretch of the game. And if the score tightens up, they've got to have Sontrop available for the last 8 minutes of the ball game at the point position. Joe Rasso has enough depth at the other positions to overcome the loss of Sean Francis or Paul Maga.
From the corner, the three-point attempt for Girolamo won't go. Vermel quickly back to grab the loose ball. It's an 11-point McMaster lead. Winnipeg creeping closer as we get close to the half. Open for 3, Olsen. Won't go. Quickly the rebound to Rob Dirksen. Dirksen across the floor to Zagordo. Zagordo, top of the key, yes.
David Zagordo.
Girolamo brings it up now for McMaster. Under a minute and a half to go here in the opening half, and Winnipeg is pulled within 9. Girolamo inside. Vanderpool on Vermel, leaves it short. And the foul against McMaster. This time on Cesare Piccini.
McMaster had good ball movement on that series. They moved the basketball from right side of the court to left, back to right, back to left, and eventually got it down inside, right on the block to Jack Vanderpool. When you're swinging the basketball on the perimeter from left side to right side, what you do is you force the inside defensive players to have to change position. When you catch that defensive player on your back, then the offense puts it down. Good offensive movement by McMaster.
Vermel has his team within 8. And checking in now is Chris Charche, who takes Norm Vermel's spot. Vermel head to the bench for a rest. 37-30, McMaster leading.
Good move by Phil Wedleg, taking Norm Vermel out of the game. He's got 2 fouls. He doesn't want to get him to get his 3rd before the half ends.
Vanderpool had the ball right under the basket. Foreman came across, and Vanderpool couldn't put it home.
Now that's fatigue. You get Jack that close to the basket, going up strong. When he misses the inside shot, then he's a little bit tired.
Zagordo being guarded closely. To Olsen. Zagordo now from the corner. Short. Fight for the loose ball, and it goes to Rob Dirksen. And now Zagordo to reset the offense. 45 seconds to go, first half. McMaster's dominated most of the way, but Winnipeg has chipped the lead down to 7. Dirksen over Vanderpool and off the glass.
Great bank shot by Dirksen. He was calling for the foul. There was incidental contact. He still came through it.
Maga trying to kick it back out for Vanderpool, and Vanderpool corrals the loose ball. Newton from the corner. Rush. Yes. His 4th three-pointer.
Big shot for McMaster. They had let the lead dwindle down to 5 points. Tommy Newton put him right back up by 8.
Newton now with 14. Time winding down in the half. Last shot at the buzzer won't go. Thor Olsen rattles it off the rim, and McMaster goes to the dressing room with a 40-32 lead. But it might have been bigger, and Winnipeg has to feel pretty good about the way it climbed back into this game after digging itself into an early hole.
They got it to single digits, and that's where they had to have it by the halftime break.
All right, let's go to Jamie Bone, who's standing by with Joe Rasso.
Thanks a lot, Gord. Standing here with leading coach. You're leading by 8 points, Coach. You're really hot. You're up by 15. You closed the gap. You closed it within 8. What are your impressions of the first half?
Well, first half, I like the way we played. I like the intensity we played. I just don't know what some of the things are going on out there. I just didn't think some of our kids were being treated fairly with some of the touch fouls, and that's too bad because this was a heck of a game, and I just think we always want to play the game. And 10 fouls in 10 minutes is just too much, and I think that they're just taking the game away from the kids. This is a great game. Let them play.
What can you say about Tom Newton? Everybody seems to be crowding in, and Jack Vanderpool. Newton's hit 4 three-pointers already.
We've got some balance on this team, you know, and we know that we don't have to go to Jack. We can go to a lot of people, so we're really happy about it. You know, that's part of this team's personality.
All right, great. Thanks, Joe. Good luck. Okay, Gord.
All right, thanks, French. Jamie? Yeah, wake up, Canada. Mac is back looking for a national title, and we'll return to the first half of our semifinal doubleheader when we return right after this.
Now you can have the golf swing you've always dreamed of with Swing Magic. Swing Magic is the perfect golf lesson. It's like having a pro guide you. Get in the groove with Swing Magic to create a fluid and repetitive swing for greater accuracy and distance, whatever your handicap. Swing Magic can be easily installed on any smooth surface, so you can practice anywhere, at home or at the office. More than a training device, Swing Magic is a complete lesson, which includes this instructional booklet and video cassette, featuring the secrets of PGA pros, as taught by Phil Ritson, the Pros Pro.
Let me tell you a little bit about Swing Magic. It's the most effective way to learn to play golf.
Whether you're a beginner or an ace, Swing Magic will improve your game. Order Swing Magic today. Call 1-800-GOLF-444. The Swing Magic system, including instructional booklet and video, can be yours for only $129 plus tax. Shipping and handling included. With Swing Magic, you'll start your golf game in full swing.
When hunger strikes, wolf down a Snickers, loaded with peanuts, caramel, nougat, and real milk chocolate. Snickers really satisfies. When your stomach growls, wolf one down.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our TSN Control Center. I'm Chris Seedens. We'll send you back to Halifax in just a moment. First, let's bring you up to date on a busy afternoon in the NHL. We'll start with the New Jersey Devils taking on the Boston Bruins. What a game. Vincent Riendo getting the start for the Bruins as they take on the Devils. First period, Devils score first. Bill Guerin picks up the rebound, goes to the top shelf here. It's 1-0 Devils in front. Now, with the game tied at 1, watch this shot from Stéphane Richer. Big blast, top corner, 30th of the season, and it's 2-1 Devils. Second period now, it's 3-1 Devils. Ted Donato picks up his 20th goal of the season. 3-2, Devils still lead the Bruins. Game tied at 3 now. Nice goal here. Bernie Nichols feeds John McLean. He gets his 33rd of the season, and it's 4-3 Devils in control. John Casey is in net for the Bees. Watch the blast from Bernie Nichols. Super shot. 6-3 Devils. Now 6-4 Bruins trailing this game at this point. Ray Bourque with the penalty shot after Ken Danico trapped the puck with his glove in the crease, and Bourque makes the best of it. Goes to the backhand. 6-5 Boston trailing at that point. Game tied at 6 now, and Stéphane Richer ices it with his second of the game. Another big blast. This one low slapper, and they would add an empty net goal and go on to win this game. The final score was 8-6. Guerin, Richer, Holik, McLean, and Nichols scoring for New Jersey. Nichols with a pair. He now has 17 on the season. It was Donato, Marois, Oates, and Bourque with the pair for Boston. Of course, Bourque with one of his goals coming on the penalty shot. And of course, New Jersey now just 2 back of New York. Pittsburgh downing Vancouver 5-4 this afternoon. Burry with the pair for Vancouver. He now has 48 on the season. Ronning and Slager had the others. For Pittsburgh, it was Sandstrom, De Palma, Stevens, Straka, and McEachern. Penguins now tied with the Canadiens atop the NHL's Northeast Division. And Hartford over Philadelphia. Surprise, surprise. 5-3 the final there. Prop with the pair for Hartford. He's 14th and 15th. Cron and Lemieux had the others. Lemieux had a pair, in fact. Lindros, Recchi, and Brindamore scoring for Philadelphia. Hartford snaps a 6-game losing streak. San Jose and Los Angeles, this game just getting underway in Los Angeles. And, of course, Wayne Gretzky, the watch continues in this one. Gretzky enters this game still 2 goals shy of Gordie Howe's all-time record for career goals. And when he scores, if he does in fact match the record, we will update you over the course of the basketball game. Okay, to tennis now, and Steffi Graf carrying an amazing win streak, 27 consecutive wins, entering the final of today's Lipton International Tennis Tournament in Key Biscayne, Florida. In fact, she hadn't lost a single set entering this. Well, she won the match. She did finally lose a set, however. 4-6, 6-1, and 6-2 were the scores. So Steffi Graf's win streak is intact. That is now 28 straight. We'll return to Halifax and more from the CIAU men's basketball semifinal in a moment.
Oh, please, just help me this once.
Next time, get a dependable Interstate battery. We check them before you buy them for fresh power. Guaranteed.
This Saturday's Lotto 649 guaranteed minimum jackpot is $10 million. Don't miss out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flying Stupendo!
The crowd looked up to see the flips on the Flying Trapeze.
Hey, what are you eating?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran?
You know, 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins and whole grain flakes with bran.
2 scoops of raisins?
2 scoops.
The triple flip! The flip was out of control because the catcher went for a bowl of 2 scoops of raisins and Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
You start it every morning. Start after start after start. When most of your oil is still down in a pad, you start metal-to-metal contact. You start engine wear. Now help stop it with the latest breakthrough from STP. Engine treatment. It bonds right to engine parts. Independent tests proved it. Just add a quart at your next oil change and help stop engine wear before you start with STP engine treatment.
Nowadays, it's hard to tell one new family sedan from another. After all, they're all built with the most advanced technology, to the highest safety standards, with the utmost concern for the environment and your protection. So the only real difference is how much you're expected to pay for all this. Introducing the all-new 95 Hyundai Sonata. Everything you want in a luxury sedan for thousands less.
Back in Halifax, where McMaster enjoys an 8-point lead over Winnipeg at halftime of the first of our 2 semifinal games here on TSN. Second game features Brandon against Alberta. And boy, for Brandon, it's all or nothing. Here's a team that won 3 consecutive national championships in the late 80s and then suffered 4 consecutive first-round exits. It's Brandon against Alberta, our second game. To talk more about it, here's Jamie Bone.
Thanks a lot, Gord. Just a little over about an hour and 15 minutes. You'll be taking the floor in the semifinal. James Hillis, head coach of Brandon Bobcats. You've gone for those. They had those 3 national championship teams in the late 1980s. It's been famine since then. Is there a lot of pressure to win this game?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we had a tough time last 3 years. We've lost out in the first round, but I mean, a lot of teams are just happy just to get to national championships, so I wouldn't necessarily call it famine. Obviously, we would rather have been more successful, but the guys are happy to have this year gotten over that monkey off their back, as it were, with the first game, beating Concordia yesterday, and we're really excited about having a chance to be in the semifinals. How about for you? You're a first-year head coach, 1 year. Are you nervous about tonight's game? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I am a little bit nervous, but hopefully the guys guys don't know that, and you know, hopefully they're not too nervous as well. For them, for most of the, well, for all of them, I guess it's their first time in the semifinals as well.
Well, everybody last night in Halifax saw Greg DeVries score 35 points. You're going to pay special attention to him?
No, we'll let him shoot. Of course, yeah, we have to keep the ball out of Greg's hands. I mean, he's a tremendous shooter, and he's one of those players in the mold of, I'd put him in the mold of, say, a Carl Tillman, that when he gets the basketball, you have a problem. He's a threat to score anytime he has the ball. So the less he has the ball, the better off we are, but that's easier said than done.
Great, well, good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the other half of that is Don Horwood, the head coach and coach of the year of the University of Alberta Golden Bears. You're not a new kid on the block. You've been around for 11 years. This should be old hat for you.
Well, we're new kids in the semifinals of the national championship, so from that point of view, we're new kids.
Well, you were here in 1990. You got bounced out in the opening round. What have you learned from that?
Well, I think the one thing that we've learned from it is we had 2 guys on that team, and they talked to our players about what it's like to play here. But we had a similar game last night with St. Mary's, you know. It was an overtime game. It obviously could have gone either way. All year long, this team has played under pressure, and they've always risen to the occasion. This is going to be an extreme test for us again tonight against Brandon.
Well, I mentioned to James Hillis about your big star last night, Guy DeVries. Are you going to pay any special attention to Keith Vassell?
Well, of course, I think they got a lot of guys. Keith Vassell is one of them. I think Ewan Roberts inside. I think they got 2 or 3 guys that can. I'm worried about their outside shooters. Scotchburn, Fry, and Brett Knorr, I thought, shot the ball extremely well last night. If they just had inside players, you could concentrate on that. But they got people who can score as well from the outside. And if we don't take care of both ends, the inside and the outside, we'll be in for a long night.
What's it going to take to win?
Well, I think we're going to have to control the ball and have a little bit of patience, try to make them play defense. They're going to press and try to keep it up tempo and run their style of ball game. I think if our guys are patient and do the things we want to do, then we have a chance to win. If we don't, it could be a long night.
Well, we'll find out in about an hour and 15 minutes. Good luck, Don. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jamie.
Gord?
All right, thanks very much, Jamie. We're back with more from semifinal Saturday here on TSN in Halifax when we return.
People wonder, how far will he go? How good will he be? I'm only 22 years old. Stick around.
Something new is coming to Canadian Tire that will change the way you buy batteries forever. Introducing the latest news on top-quality Canadian-made MotoMaster batteries. We're reducing their prices. This is not a sale, but a guaranteed low price on a MotoMaster battery whenever you need one. Today and every day. Changing the way you buy batteries. It's just one more way we save you money. There's a lot more to Canadian Tire for a lot less.
Loadsville was brought to you by Shimano, makers of the world's finest bicycle components.
You can find Shimano STX Special Edition components on these bikes.
Me and my nephew had this rivalry about our trucks. He was trying to pull out a car that had been buried in a snowbank. I said, well, when you guys stop fooling around, I'll yank you out with my Chevy. I backed down in there and pulled both him and the Plymouth out at the same time.
I was ice fishing when my Chevy fell through the ice. We hauled it out, full of water, frozen solid. I changed the plugs, the fluids. It started right up. That was 100,000 miles ago.
Chevy, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
We're back in beautiful Halifax, where March, the month of champions, continues here on TSN. We wrap it up this weekend with the CIAU Men's Basketball Championship back inside, where McMaster leads Winnipeg by 8 points after the opening half. Gord Miller here with Brian Heaney. Brian, the opening half saw McMaster dominate much of the way, and it was interesting the way the officials tended to call things, because that had a big effect, didn't it?
Well, it did. It was a very physical half, and you know, Joe Razzo made the comment at half that there were a lot of touch fouls, but when you play that kind of pressure defense incessantly from opening whistle to halftime, there's so much contact going on that's incidental. Sometimes some things may be missed.
And the officials actually gave defenders a few breaks out there because they called a lot of charges, and Paul Maga drew about 4 of them.
Well, that's very smart play by Paul Maga. He's a senior player. You take a look here, Maga setting up Norm Formel here on a key play. Maga moves in, establishes position, both feet planted, draws the charge, and got 4 of those. Now that means that's 4 less shots that Winnipeg was able to get off in the first half.
Speaking of shots, Tom Newton with 14 points in the opening half.
Well, Winnipeg has to react at halftime. They simply have to respect the tremendous shooting ability of Tom Newton. They have to get up close and get a hand right in his letters. If they give him freedom when he's squared up the score, he's going to drain it every time.
Big story, fouls for McMaster. Sean Francis, one of 3 starters on the bench with 3 fouls.
Well, he's an explosive player, and Joe Rasso does not want to have him in foul trouble down the stretch. So that's a key statistic that we'll have to watch down the second half.
All right, well, let's look at it this way. McMaster has the 8-point lead, but has 3 starters on the bench with 3 fouls. Winnipeg in much better shape in terms of foul trouble. If you could pick a team to coach right now, who would you rather be?
Well, I think McMaster obviously is in the driver's seat, but I think Winnipeg can't be too unhappy. They were able to cut the lead down to single digit, 8 points. Nothing's worked for them in the first half. They're a great team. I think the second half, you could see the game come back their way.
You're so diplomatic, you know that? Well, we'll see how it turns out in the second half. It's an 8-point lead, and we'll return to the first half of semifinal Saturday when we return.
It's more than a job. It's a commitment to bringing you low prices today and every day on the products you use most. Like Penn tennis balls, just $2.79 each. And Slam Dunk basketballs for only $9.99 each. At Canadian Tire, we're constantly working to save you money today and every day. In fact, you might say, it's our calling. There's a lot more to Canadian Tire for a lot less.
Ladies and gentlemen, the flying stupendo! The crowd looked up to see the flips on the flying trapeze.
Hey, what are you eating?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran?
You know, 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins and whole grain flakes with bran.
2 scoops of raisins?
2 scoops.
The triple flip! The flip was out of control because the catcher went for a bowl of 2 scoops of raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
What Eat More gives is dark, chewy toffee loaded with peanuts. Real chewy and not too sweet tasting. So what Eat More takes is time. It's a real long chew. Eat More.
New, the Wilkinson Sword Protector. A razor so sharp that it has to be kept behind bars.
Life needs a strong man.
Its unique protective guard wires ensure that while the shave is close and comfortable, there is no safer wet shave. The safest wet shave ever from Wilkinson Sword. Protector, only from Wilkinson Sword.
We're at the Metro Center in Halifax, getting ready for the second half of our first semifinal game, and standing by with the Winnipeg Westman's head coach is J.B. Bone.
That's right, Gord. Bill Wedlake joins me now. Bill, you were down by as much as 15. You closed the gap to within 8 at halftime. Any adjustments that you made at halftime?
Well, we just want the guys to relax a little bit. We talked about that before the game, and it didn't happen. I think we played about 18 minutes of helter-skelter and 2 minutes of quality basketball, and we hope they reverse that. It's exactly what we're talking about, 18 minutes of quality basketball and 2 minutes of maybe something else.
All right, good luck in the second half.
Thanks a lot.
Gord?
All right, thanks very much, Jamie, as Prentice Lenz and the rest of the Winnipeg Westmen complete their warm-ups for the second half. Give you an idea of who's done the scoring, and despite a rough start, Jeff Foreman's got 14 for Winnipeg. Really came on in the last few minutes of that opening half, but boy, what a story Tom Newton is. 4 3-pointers, 14 points overall. Jack Vanderpool with 7. for McMaster. Fromell with 5, but really Vanderpool's had the edge inside for McMaster.
Well, he has, and he's causing Fromell some problems because Norm's got to play Vanderpool all the time. He's just so dangerous. But as you said, Newton has really opened up the offense inside for both Vanderpool and Piccini. They're controlling the offensive boards as well.
Well, one thing we'll watch very closely in the second half, foul trouble for McMaster. 3 players carrying 3 fouls, and Sean Francis got his 3 right in the first 11 minutes and has spent much of the time on the bench here. So Joe Rasso and his team coming out with an 8-point lead, a lead that at one point was threatening to go to 20. But hovered around 16-17 for most of the opening half. McMaster to inbound to open the half.
McMaster ball to start the second half.
And you see Francis in the game with 3 fouls. Sontrop has 3 as well. The tightest Channer. Channer works to the top of the lane. Shot won't go. And Rob Dirksen coming right back for Winnipeg. Up the floor to David Zagordo, number 14. Zagordo quickly inside to Fromell, and Fromell over top of Francis.
That was a super play. A great crossover dribble, and then he found the man inside and laid the ball right on his glove.
Keegan Johnson. Arcing shot won't go. Fromell fights off Vanderpool for the rebound.
Well, this is exactly the kind of start Winnipeg has got to have in the second half, so Bill Wedlake's got to be pleased.
Foreman hits quickly.
2 inside offensive attempts by Winnipeg, 1 from each block. That's exactly where they need to have the basketball.
And Fromell gets a hand on that Vanderpool shot, so the big men making their presence felt.
The 1-2 punch on the backboards, Foreman and Fromell.
Thor Olsen's shot won't go. Sontrop comes up with it for McMaster. The lead down to 4 quickly.
Here we are. We got a ball game in the second half.
Channer won't go. Fromell takes the ball away from Francis.
The ability to control the defensive backboards just invigorates the big man, too. So Norm Fromell is totally involved coming out of the halftime break.
Thor Olsen's shot hangs on the rim, won't go. Sontrop to Francis. Titus Channer now to Sontrop. Vanderpool working out in the corner.
Interesting. Jack trying to bring Fromell away from the basket and then look inside for a dump down pass so the offensive player doesn't have to face the 7-footer.
Sontrop around Zagordo. The shot doesn't go. This time Vanderpool with the rebound. That won't go either, and Fromell comes away with it. That's a couple times Vanderpool has been under the basket and hasn't been able to put it home. Back 0 for 6 from the field in this half. Haven't had a whistle yet in the second half either. Foreman. Fromell with the rebound, and Francis will take his 4th.
Boy, that was great inside movement by the Winnipeg forwards. Jeff Foreman going to the high post, and then he took the ball down on the baseline. Norm Fromell did not stand and watch. Watch Foreman's shot. Here comes Fromell, establishing position on the offensive boards. You can't get it any better than that.
Joe Rasso wants to talk it over at his bench, and you can bet that Sean Francis will spend some time on it with 4 fouls. Here's what Joe has to say.
Listen, if we're in a wide, I don't care what you do on the offensive end. You didn't get back in transition because you're worried about the offensive end. He shot the ball, we didn't go to the boards. You got to get out of there on that 7, Sonny, because that lane is open. You got to get on the 7. Let's go now. Tommy's on the court. Tommy, you can run the 7. You're the pick and pop guy. All right? Let's go on the court. Tommy's going to go 4. All right? Let's run. Inverts. Inverts. They got to come out with you. Gentlemen, down there on that defensive end, you got to stay with them. We're giving up easy baskets. Transition is there. But you stopped a couple times. Ty, the ball came. Go at it. Go at it. On every reversal on the offense, we're there. Hey, if you're worried about what you did, you're not going to stop. You're going to stop playing. Worry about what you're going to do. We're 50s. No, hold it. We're going to go 100. 100. Keegan, you're on Foreman. 1, 2, 3. Back. Tommy. 100 on defense.
Joe Rasso impassioned in the huddle. And what a story the big men have been for Winnipeg. Norm Fromell, 5 rebounds in this half. And we've played 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
You know, sometimes you can't always tell the intensity that a player burns with by the expression on his face, but when he comes out and bangs the boards the way Norm Fromell is, you know that he had a talk with himself at halftime.
Norm Fromell at the line.
Sean Francis with 4 fouls. That's a key story now in the second half. Frankly, it's easy always to look back and say, would you make the same decision again? But in the second half, with the kind of depth that McMaster has had and played with all season, would you not have kept Sean Francis on the bench?
Quickly to Jamie.
Gord Bill Wedlake in his huddle, he told his team, he said, the momentum is shifting. We can all feel it. But remember, 3 things he said: rebound, rebound, rebound.
That's been the story early on here. Again, the freshman in the game for McMaster. Here's Sontrop. He's got 3 fouls as well. Channer outside to Keegan Johnson, thought better of the 3 and kicks it back up to Sontrop, who will reset the offense with 15 seconds on the shot clock. Channer trying to work off the screen, ran into Norm Fromell.
Boy, that was a great defensive move by Fromell.
Johnson's shot wouldn't go. Fromell with the rebound. Chance to cut the lead now. It's 4. Shot for Dirksen won't go. Fromell gets it right back, and rebounding has been the entire story so far. Fromell over Vanderpool. Newton comes over to help, and on the attempt to tip, Jeff Foreman put it over. Here comes McMaster right back. Sontrop inside to Vanderpool, working on Fromell, and Fromell rejects it. Vanderpool gets it back from longer range, puts it home. What a battle.
And that's disheartening for defensive player. Norm Fromell made a great move and a great shot block, but a tribute to Jack Vanderpool. He gets the ball right back, focuses on the basket. He's got a good soft touch when he's inside the paint and squared up.
6-point McMaster lead. From well outside, Thor Olsen, his 3-point shot's been cold. Fromell saves it. Foreman working on Tom Newton. Gets it outside to Zagordo. Inside for Fromell, working on Vanderpool. Couldn't get loose. Tried inside to Foreman on Newton. All over him. Newton and Vanderpool.
That was excellent patience by Winnipeg. They really are playing with presence of mind. Look at Jeff Foreman's footwork here. He squares up, gets Tommy Newton off his feet, crosses over, squares his shoulders to the glass. All the fundamentals required for an excellent offensive move Jeff Foreman had on that move.
Vanderpool has only 1 foul in the game. And heads over for a chat with Joe Rasso. Cesare Piccini into the game for McMaster, along with Lance Postma. Foreman rattles that off the rim. Makes the second. And the lead is now 5. Piccini had trouble finding the handle for a moment. Gets it over to Keegan Johnson. Titus Channer. Johnson inside. And they'll call the charge. Keegan Johnson with his 3rd foul. And Rasso's up to argue. Johnson and Channer, the 2 freshmen, have only 5 points between them in the game. McMaster leads by 5. We'll return to Halifax in a moment.
McMaster foul Keegan Johnson against.
Last year, when Canadian Tire reduced prices on hundreds of products, the impact was huge. And this year's news is just as big, because now we're reducing prices on MotoMaster tires. It's not a sale, but guaranteed low prices every day on quality MotoMaster tires made by leading North American manufacturers. It's just one more way we save you money, today and every day. There's a lot more to Canadian Tire for a lot less.
Watch David Zagordo here set up Keegan Johnson, hands up, feet planted, draws the offensive charge, puts Mac into deeper foul trouble in those key perimeter positions.
And yeah, a foul mood. Francis has 4. He's on the bench. Sontrop and Maga have 3, along with Johnson, and Channer has 2. And McMaster has already taken 3 team fouls in the second half. Winnipeg has yet to be whistled for anything in the second half. And Rasso, you can see him still pleading his case with the officials.
Well, they do bring tremendous defensive aggressiveness the full length of the court. They're coming at you the entire game, and there are going to be more fouls than usual committed. The key is the game management that Joe Razzo is able to effect on the sideline to make sure that he's got players available, key players available down the home stretch of the game.
You heard Razzo talk earlier about the transition for his team and how key it was, and he emphasized it again in that huddle. Dirksen off the screen. 18-footer goes.
Ron Dirksen.
Tom Newton hasn't tried one yet this half. He was a big part of the first half for McMaster. Titus Channer from the corner. Channer now 1 for 7 from the field. Segordo. And Foreman has it taken away. Here come the freshmen on the break. Channer and Foreman hacked him.
Boy, that was great teamwork. They had the defensive man on the yo-yo back and forth down the floor. Good passing and just what Joe Razzo wanted, penetration to the basket. Look at the turnover, the story of Mac all year. Here come the two freshmen. Right, left, back, go to the hole hard, draw the foul. Outstanding movement. Here it is from the other angle, right here. Channer to Johnson, Johnson to Channer. Teams in the OUAA West have had fits trying to put the cuffs on those kids all season long.
I think Foreman just saw enough passes. He said, heck with this. I'll take the foul. Just stop throwing it around.
Well, it's very tough when you're backpedaling like that and the ball's going back and forth. What the defensive player really has to do is sprint right under the basket and say, you've got one shot from the outside, but you're not getting a layup.
McMaster lead back to 7. Foreman had the two kids on him for a moment. Now fights his way into the key. Newton bumped Foreman. And they're going to call Newton on the hole. His second.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of contact going on in there without the basketball. Your attention normally focuses to the point of the basketball, but the big men inside are working very hard without the ball. The defensive presence inside that Mac is trying to exert is very, very aggressive. Both Foreman and Newton going at each other.
Now, Framel's back into the game for Winnipeg. Vanderpool remains on the bench for McMaster. Puccini trying to come up with it, couldn't. Here's Dirksen. And the walk on David Segordo.
Well, you can only lift your head on that move and fake. You can't lift your feet. Segordo got both of them shuffling before he bounced the ball.
So every time Winnipeg threatens, McMaster comes right back. And it's a 7-point lead as Channer remains in the game. Tom Newton, don't count him out. He'll shoot from there now and then. Sondrop's back in the game for McMaster, carrying 3 fouls. And putting this one up, won't go. Rebound to Postma, left-handed, won't go. Gets it back, third try, won't go. My goodness, Framel comes away with it.
You can't lay it up there 3 times with Norm Framel at 7 feet around. Sooner or later, he's going to sweep the glass on you.
Foreman might have walked. They lob it inside to Framel, working on Postma. The shot won't go. And the foul against McMaster's Lance Postma.
Take a look here. Bill Wedlake's got to be happy here. Establishes inside position. Framel, 4 feet from the basket, squares up, puts the ball on the backcourt.
And Vanderpool comes back in place of Lance Postma. Cesare Puccini also goes to the bench as Paul Maga comes in.
The difference in the ball game for Winnipeg in the second half has been quality of shot. They've remained patient. They're getting the basketball down into the block where their strength is. They probably have the most potent inside game with the 1-2 punch of Framel and Foreman in the tournament, and therefore they have to go to that as their strength in the second half.
Framel misses both. Maga fighting for the rebound. And the call this time goes against Winnipeg and Jeff Foreman.
Winnipeg foul, Jeff Foreman.
That's his third.
Foul number 2.
And with just under 14 minutes to play, the foul is really becoming a big part of the story here.
Well, it is, and when you've got an All-Canadian like Jeff Foreman, you have to rely on his good judgment and his experience not to commit that fourth foul too early.
Vanderpool rejected by Fromell. Newton gets it back, goes to the corner, misses. Maga pulls it back out. Newton. Channer. Here's Newton open off the screen, short. Vanderpool fights to get it back, gets tackled, and Sontrop took an elbow from David Zagordo, but Zagordo touched the ball on the way out of bounds.
Tom Newton has been cold in the second half. Look at Jack Vanderpool here. He's grimacing. Looks okay. Took a hard dump. Look here, here's a loose ball. Again, Vanderpool going down. His leg got caught on the defensive player. Banged his knee down on the ground, but he's good. He shook it off.
Well, Prentice Lenz with the 2-point takedown. New clock for McMaster. Sontrop. So Davy J puts his team up by 9. Bill Woodlake may think timeout here. Foreman. Pass Newton. The scoop shot doesn't go. Fromell fighting for it. Maga comes away with it for McMaster. Gets it to Newton. Sontrop wide open. Won't go. Fromell, the rebound. And Newton got into it there with Jeff Foreman. And they'll call the foul on Newton again, as you mentioned, Brian, away from the ball.
Well, Tom Newton is an excellent defensive player. He kind of tricks you because he plays offense 25 feet from the hoop, but defense, Joe Rasso uses him on the toughest defensive assignment inside.
And Newton leaves with 3 fouls, but Sean Francis comes in with 4. 12:47 to go in the second half. McMaster 1 foul away from the bonus. They call Fromell on the charge, working on Vanderpool.
Norm Fromell sometimes gets himself in that situation. Watch here, he turns and he leads with his shoulder. The shoulder goes first. What the big man wants to do, particularly at 7 feet, is fake high with the shoulder and drop step with the leg. That's one of the moves that Norm Fromell is going to continue to improve as he develops in the national team program. He's got to lead with the leg and not with the shoulder.
Max shooting 3 for 17 from the field in this half. But leading by 9. Things are going to change on the next McMaster foul, though, and Winnipeg starts shooting free throws. Here's Francis over the top. The shot falls short, fights for the rebound, and Foreman comes away with it. Zagordo. You can bet they'll work on Francis, knowing he's got 4. Vanderpool knocks that away and out of bounds.
Boy, he knocked that away on pure effort. Good footwork, but pure effort because Norm Fromell had good position on Jack that time.
Nor Olsen fights off the screen, but finds himself with Jack Vanderpool in his face. Now from the corner, Zagordo. Fromell with the rebound. Quickly back out. A small lineup in for Winnipeg. 3-guard set. Olsen fights it inside for Fromell on Vanderpool. Fights him off the glass. Won't go, and Vanderpool has the rebound. Sontrop goes behind the back on full court pressure, and man, it's physical out there. Here's Francis open.
Sean Francis has had a hard time getting his rhythm in this ball game because of his foul trouble.
And rejected by Fromell, his 3rd. Back up the 4. Prentice Lenz underneath the Foreman. And Francis carrying 4 fouls had to back right off as Foreman swept in on him.
That was a great pass by Thor Olsen, too. He caught the basketball on a cross-court exchange and dumped it right down inside.
Vanderpool. Got to hustle back. Lenz working on him, over top of him, and they call Vanderpool on the block.
Great play by Olsen. He had a little smile on his face, too, because when he saw Vanderpool camped out alone inside, rather than pull up and take the shot, he said, I'm going to the iron, and I'm going to draw the foul. Right here, you see him go through, and he got the call his way.
Only Vanderpool's 2nd, though. One of the few Marauders who is not flirting with deep foul trouble. Prentice Lenz at the line. 81% free throw shooter over the regular season. Lens goes 1 for 2. The lead is 8. And Winnipeg will retain possession, but trails as the second half begins to wind down here in the first half of semifinal Saturday in Halifax.
Tell your sisters, tell your brothers. Hey, yeah, McCain makes a pizza for the deep pan lovers.
McCain Deep Pan Tender Crisp Pizza, the finest pizza that ever came out of your oven. A unique, gentle way of rolling the dough gives you deep pan pizza perfection.
McCain makes a pizza for the deep pan lovers.
McCain Deep Pan Pizza, the finest pizza to ever come out of your oven.
Thursday night, the Maritime Life All-Canadians were honored here in Halifax. Dean Levy from Saskatchewan, David Picton from Brock, Jeff Foreman, who we're seeing today, along with Jack Vanderpool, and the local hero, William Njoku from St. Mary's University, comprised the first team. And you get a look at the second team All-Stars, Alex Beeson from Ryerson, and a player we'll see here later, Keith Vassell from Brandon. And Maritime Life did an outstanding job with that dinner on Thursday night, and Maritime Life proud to honor this year's CIAU All-Canadian team. Our congratulations to everyone involved. Well, I got to ask you the question, Coach. You've got to guard their best player. That's Jeff Foreman. But your best defender has 4 fouls. How tough is it for Sean Francis to contain this guy?
Well, it's a huge assignment. It's a huge task. There's over 11 minutes left in the ballgame, and Sean Francis has 1 foul to give, and he's history in this ballgame. At the half, he had 3. One of the things that surprised me is McMaster has such tremendous depth around the perimeter. I wondered if they really had to start Sean Francis in the second half. They could have protected him so that he was in a situation down the last maybe 12, 13 minutes of the ballgame that he could play flat out with 2 fouls to give. He's in a lot of trouble right now.
Winnipeg trailing by 8 with the ball. 11:15 to play, second half. Gordo. Prentice Lenz working on Francis now. Foreman's being guarded inside. Lenz from outside doesn't go. Oh, and Vanderpool got a forearm to the face from Foreman. Foreman nailed Vanderpool in the mouth. And that is his 4th.
You know, to some extent, that was a reckless move because you expect from a senior player to know where he's at in the ballgame. Look here, Foreman, who's aggressive, and you just can't control that aggression sometimes. But now he's on the bench with his 4th foul.
And suddenly, Sean Francis doesn't have quite as much to worry about. Bill Wedlake's got some things to think about, though, at this point. Vanderpool. Over the top, Fromell got a piece. 4th block for Fromell.
Let's go back to the matchup. Sean Francis, Joe Rasso got something done in that timeout. Before Foreman went out, he made the defensive switch, so Francis was defending a perimeter player, and now he's got McMaster in his zone. Partly that's to protect Sean Francis with the 4th foul.
Olsen with 6 on the shot clock, and Tom Newton gets the rebound. Newton's been quiet here in the second half after putting up 14. Francis being watched by Fromell. Newton being double teamed.
Boy, Jack Vanderpool's wide open inside on a reversal.
Francis being watched closely. 5 on the shot clock. Little leaner by Keegan Johnson, won't go, and Fromell battling for the rebound, and it's Winnipeg ball. Fromell does a nice job on the baseline.
He's really come out to play in the second half. Here it is, the ball's going out of bounds. Norm Fromell hustling.
McMaster taking their
saving that basketball.
And McMaster calls timeout with 9:45 to play in the second half, and Mac still holding an 8-point lead.
Are now on sale at stands located on the concourse behind section 13.
There's not been a display of Brian Heaney's shooting, the man who once had 74 in the CIAU game.
Well, I'll tell you, the field goal percentages have to be disappointing for both coaches at this stage in the game, Gord. But one of the reasons for that is fatigue, and also there's a lot of up-tempo basketball going on and outside shots.
Let's listen to Bill Wedlake in the Winnipeg Hunt.
We can set Stack out of this. Gristle come hard for it for this spot here. Let's see if we can get something over top. All right, move it with 31. Let's see if we get a couple possessions now. Let's go now. Work hard. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
I want to ask you, how did you ever get 74 in a game?
Well, I was never shy to shoot the basketball, Gord, so let's just say I didn't set the assist record in school history that night either. Every time I touched it, I shot it.
Let's go to J.B. Bone.
Thanks, Gord. Joe Rasso just coming out of that timeout. He wanted to talk to his team. He said they're going to change some things now. They're going to go to man defense. Gord?
What's a stack? Wedlake was talking about
well, what Bill Wedlake wants to do, when you hear the term stack in basketball, you want to pack 2 players usually close to the basket on the block at the bottom of the lane, outside the 3 secondary, and from that position, 1 player breaks out and the other player is left inside alone. You start with 2 people together and then split them out and pass the ball inside.
Kevin Chief has the ball go out of bounds, but Winnipeg will retain possession. Sontrop got a piece.
And you know, so many players don't do that on defense. In the recovering defense, if you have an opportunity to chase the ball down like Mark Sontrop did, you can knock the ball into the defense and head the other way on a fast break. Super hustle.
Gutsy play with 3 fouls, though. You can get called on the reach. Dirksen's shot won't go. The guards have been called for Winnipeg today, and Francis comes away with the rebound. Scores even at 10 between the 2 teams here in the second half. But look at Keegan Johnson from the corner.
Keegan Johnson with the read.
And Johnson with the 3. Now has 5.
Joe Rasso was telling me before the game, Keegan Johnson's offense really has improved over the course of this season. His shooting has come on. He's making much better judgments late in the season.
Thor Olsen puts it well short. And with Jeff Foreman waiting at the scorer's table to come back in the game, his team trails by 11. Francis from outside for 2.
You know, McMaster, you have to be impressed with them because the tempo's been up and they come at you from so many points on the court, outside, inside, and down the middle.
Timeout Winnipeg, and McMaster has built the lead up to 13.
Winnipeg take their second timeout.
Let's go back into the Winnipeg huddle and see what adjustments Bill Wedlake's trying to make.
Well, we had 1 possession of 1. Then we were in 4. We got to communicate. Now we're in 4. We're in 4. We got to hustle our butts back. All right, at this end here, just let it happen. Doesn't have to happen on 1 pass. Right? Relax and let it happen. Plus, we can still go inside. They are not handling the screen on the ball. All we're taking is the shot off the screen. They are not covering the roll man. So come off now with more than 1 option. Plus, let's get the ball reversing a number of times. Let's just get the ball reversing. The shots don't have to come right away. All right, we'll relax and let it happen. If we go inside, it can come out, then we can shoot it. Just because they're packing it in doesn't mean we have to shoot it early in the possession. The shot will always be there. Come on, all right, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Come on.
Well, Brian, it's interesting. Down 13 with 8:44. Patience is the key for Winnipeg.
Well, it is, because they want the basketball inside. Look here, we've got Keegan Johnson coming down on a fast break, squaring up to the basket, and drains that jump shot. What a sweet jump shot from the corner.
Tough shot to make from the corner, tougher to make if it's your first year. 3-point shooting's been a big story in this game. Look at McMaster, 6 of 17, Winnipeg 1 of 9.
Well, Winnipeg may have the best 1-2 punch inside in the tournament in Foreman and Fromell, but the perimeter has not complemented their play today. If Winnipeg's going to get back in this ball game and be competitive, they've got to get some performance, I think, on the perimeter in the next 10 minutes.
It's a 15-point difference in a 13-point game. Winnipeg will retain possession here in the corner. Remember, Tom Newton's got 4 of those 6 3-pointers for Winnipeg.
All in the first half, too, and I think you've got to be careful.
We'll check that for Mac, of course. Here's Foreman working underneath, and they'll call the foul on Newton. That's 4 for Newton.
McMaster foul Tom Newton, his 4th.
Look here, the high-low from Fromell down inside the Foreman. Tom Newton got caught on his back. That's excellent offensive play. Sometimes when you have a player like Norm Fromell who can see over the defense and is an adequate passer, putting the ball to the 7-footer at the high post is effective if you've got a tough player like Foreman down inside with a good pair of hands and can catch the basketball.
McMaster's got 2 players in the game with 4 fouls, Tom Newton and Sean Francis. And the lead is 11.
Tom Newton's, he's missed every three-point shot he's taken in the second half, although he had 4 makes in the first half. But when you're working that hard defensively, you start to lose it in the legs in the second half.
Fromell over top of Newton. Vanderpool, though, with the rebound off the Fromell miss. Here's Francis. Keegan Johnson being watched down in the corner, back out to Newton. Sontrot. Francis working on Fromell. And they'll call the hold inside.
That's one of the strengths in Sean Francis' game. He gives the up fake, stands Norm Fromell up, and then takes him into the paint. Not only gets the shot off, but draws this foul on a 7-footer. Excellent.
Norm Fromell with the foul, his 4th.
Bill Wedleg has a fistful of problems on the sideline. He's got both big men, Norm Fromell and Jeff Foreman, with 4 fouls with 7:40 to play. That's huge.
Gotta give credit to Sean Francis here. We talked about the foul trouble that he got into in the first half. He's played well with 4 fouls.
Well, he really has. He's kept his poise. He hasn't let that rattle him. He's got his focus together. And Joe Rasso would prefer to have him in the game down the stretch with his experience and leadership.
Really, you'd have to think, though, that having him at this point in the game is a bonus for McMaster. We'll see how physically Fromell can play carrying 4. And the three-pointer good for Steve Newton. For 3. Remind me never to play horse with the Newtons.
That has to happen for Winnipeg, however. They've got to get that production on the perimeter, because as the game draws down into the final 7 minutes, McMaster's packing tighter and tighter around the inside postman of Winnipeg. The only way they're going to spread that defense is if the perimeter shooters can drop some jumpers.
Leads 9. Francis from the corner. Won't go. And this time Foreman with the rebound. Quickly ahead to Zagordo. Inside to Fromell, watched by Vanderpool. Vanderpool knocks it away. And they'll call Vanderpool his 3rd.
And Norm Fromell deserved to get that pass, because in a transition game at 7 feet late in the game, watch Norm Fromell. Let's pick him up in the middle of the screen. He hustles down. He's the 3rd guy down in the white shirt. Sets up on Vanderpool, and the ball gets inside to him. See, he worked without the ball in order to get the offensive attempt. He deserved to get that pass.
For 2 shots.
Got to compliment Norm Fromell. I haven't seen him play in the championships last year. He's really improved some aspects of his ball game. Defensively, he's working a lot harder. He's got good lateral movement. 7 feet, 7'1". But he's had a real display of intensity today in the second half of this ball game.
Keegan Johnson pulls up and makes.
You just can't let the tremendous perimeter play of McMaster get deep inside you in the paint. Keegan Johnson, if he gets inside the paint at the bottom of that dotted line circle, it's all over. With his jumping ability and soft touch, he's going to score every time.
Rob Durkin. Zagordo from well outside. Vanderpool fights off Fromell for the rebound. Now Sontrot.
Winnipeg in his zone defense, but they're playing it very wide around the top.
Keegan Johnson trying to get it inside to Vanderpool, and Foreman swatted that pass away.
You play that wide zone with the penetrating ability of McMaster players. They're going to penetrate or go right between the zone defensive players, and they're going to get inside. Winnipeg's got to do a better job of containing Mac on the outside.
Inside for Fromell, had trouble handling, but finally stuffs it in.
Not bad. He got some help from the glass backboard, but still had the presence of mind and the quickness to react to the deflection.
Sontrot that walks the rim. Fromell with the rebound. 5.5 to play. It's an 8-point McMaster lead. Zagordo over the top, and the rebound goes to Jack Vanderpool, as Tom Newton did a great job hustling back for Mac. Vanderpool has 12 rebounds. Francis faces the basket, goes up top, and makes it.
He's got great ability when he's on the move and off the dribble. And again, you just can't let the offensive players penetrate against the zone defense. You've got to shut them down on the penetration move if you're going to be effective.
Second three-pointer for Steve Newton.
Steve's fired up, too. That's a second long-range jump shot. He's acting like he feels it. He'll probably want the basketball back when they get in the offensive series. 7-point
lead. McMaster has led all the way. Sontrop from way out. Doesn't go. Vanderpool, though, gets the rebound. And they call the foul inside on Rob Dirksen. His second.
Winnipeg foul, Rob Dirksen, his second, team foul number 6.
Timeout on the floor. 4:27 to play. McMaster still leads. We'll be right back.
Oh please, just help me this once.
Next time, get a dependable Interstate battery. We check them before you buy them for fresh power. Guaranteed.
This Saturday's Lotto 649 guaranteed minimum jackpot is $10 million. Don't miss out.
And we'll continue with our coverage of semifinal Saturday here on TSN. Our semifinal number 2 features the Brandon Bobcats and the Alberta Golden Bears later on this evening from the Metro Center here in Halifax. And there's Alberta Golden Bear head coach Don Horwood, who succeeded you as the coach in Alberta.
Well, he did, and I know you've got roots in the city of Edmonton, Gord. And could you tell me, please, Don Horwood now, is he relaxed or is he relaxed? Are you thinking about an hour's time he's going to sit there?
No. I've seen Don Horwood set CIAU rushing records on the sidelines of basketball games.
It just will be a contrast of styles, I'll tell you. Yeah. He's enjoying himself in this game, and I think he's going to get ready to go to work in about 30 minutes against Brandon Bobcats.
Career, he and Walter Payton are neck and neck. I think he likes watching other coaches sweat. It seems to me like coaches love to watch other guys have to deal with problems.
Well, Bill Wedleg is sweating right now. He's got just about 4 minutes to get his team in a situation where they can win this basketball game. They've made a valiant run, but McMaster's answered the bell every time. So let's see what they come out with after that timeout.
Now remember, his 2 big men have 4 fouls each. Channer, Newton, waits, shoots, doesn't go. Hustles back and grabs the loose ball. New clock for McMaster with a 7-point lead and 4 minutes on the clock.
I'll tell you, those plays that sometimes don't show up on a stat sheet are so important. Maga's made some great moves in the first half, drawing offensive charges, hustling down a loose ball, offensive rebound.
Maga to the corner. Piccini walks. And another timeout is called. We'll return with 3:44 to play in the second half of semifinal number 1.
Many years ago, we came from France with some very special recipes for pâté. We call them Tour Eiffel because they embrace the very flavor of France. The superior taste and delicate aroma of all Tour Eiffel pâtés are still preferred as a rewarding snack or the perfect choice for entertaining. Try Tour Eiffel pâtés from the cane, like liver and country style, and enjoy the flavor of France.
Brian Paul Magas missed as much time as anybody because of the arrival of the freshman, but look at the play here.
Oh, yeah, look at the attitude late in the game, hustling down that long rebound. How many kids would make that effort? See, Paul Maga, he wants to be part of a winner. He wants to be in a winning program. If he doesn't play, he'll play a role.
I know it's a cliche, but man, is the next foul huge.
Well, I'll tell you, the next foul could be huge for Winnipeg because Foreman and Fromell really dominate their inside game. They've got to have those people down the stretch of the game if they can close this 7-point margin. On the other hand, if Newton or Francis go out for McMaster, they do have the depth to survive that kind of elimination.
Maga, we mentioned before, suffered back spasms just before the playoffs, and as a result, missed a great deal of time. Now, the next foul to Winnipeg puts McMaster in the bonus. And the next foul to McMaster guarantees Winnipeg 2 shots. So Winnipeg to inbound, 3:40 to play. Trailing by 7. And McMaster leading all the way. Here's Fromell. He's working outside now. Top of the key over Vanderpool, but Vanderpool got a piece of it. And underneath, Steve Newton, the foul is called.
McMaster foul, Tom Newton, his fifth.
And the foul is on Tom Newton, his fifth.
Newton on Newton, but I'll tell you, Steve Newton